Alright, this is going to be my very first deck tech. I built this deck recently. It is a Commander EDH deck. My chosen commander is Scion of the Ur-Dragon. He is a 4/4 legendary dragon avatar. He has flying, and pay 2 colorless, search your library for a dragon card and put it into your graveyard. If you do, Scion of the Ur-Dragon becomes a copy of that card until end of turn. Then shuffle your library. Now, I do have several of these proxies made by Lethics.com. I really like the look of them. I like the art. I like the full art, the alternates. I do own every card in my deck that I have proxied. Alright, I am going to butcher a few of the names of a few of these cards. But without further ado, we'll start with the mana. I run 6 mountains, 4 swamps, 3 forests, 4 forests, 3 plains, and 3 islands. Okay, and then non-basics, this forest island. I have a few of these dual lands. A couple of burn lands. This one's no, these are the ones that only are tapped if you don't control. They're pretty good though. This one's a scry. The only reason that it's in here is because it's a extra forest island and it has scry. Command tower, of course, because command tower. Crucible of the Spirit Dragon has add 1 to your mana pool, put a charge counter, and then remove charge counters to add mana in any combination of color. But you can only spend it to cast dragons, which in a dragon deck is what you need. And then Haven of the Spirit Dragon. That's the one that's sacrificed and lets me pull a dragon from my graveyard, or Ugin. I do not have Ugin in this deck, only because it just didn't really work that well with the premise. This one, Cavern of Souls. As Cavern of Souls enters the battlefield, choose a creature type, dragons, obviously. Tap to add 1 to your mana pool, or tap to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to cast a creature spell of the chosen type, and that spell can't be countered. So that's pretty helpful. Soul Ring, because Soul Ring. Artifacts now. Commander Sphere. Gilded Lotus. A Chromatic Lantern, because I'm running a 5-color deck. Coalition Relic. And then Hammer of Perthros. Only reason that's in the deck is because it gives my creatures haste. And what kind of self-respecting dragon deck would not want to have haste? Lightning Greaves. And then also Swiftfoot Boots, which is the same thing as Lightning Greaves, except for you equip with 1 colorless mana. Door of Destinies. As Door of Destinies enters the battlefield, choose a creature type, dragons. Whenever you cast a spell of the chosen type, put a charge counter on Door of Destinies. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1 for each charge counter on Door of Destinies. Now, in a deck where you want to kill your opponents with commander damage, that card just works really well. And Dragon Arch, how amazingly cool is that? Pay 2 and tap, put a multicolored creature from your hand into play. Expensive dragons, get out Dragon Arch and no more expenses. Oath of Nisa, a little bit of mana fixing there. She's there. Mana Bloom, Sheltered Airy, because 1 basic land making 3 mana is definitely something I wanted to do. Market Festival, Curse of Bloodletting, that is the Curse of Bloodletting and Dictate of the Twin Gods. Now, I have these in the deck. They're the only 2 cards in the deck that you know, double damage, but I just thought that, you know, they would work pretty well, especially with commander damage. I've played games with this deck where, you know, the first turn that my commander comes out, I've got one of these on the field, and I just kill my opponent in one turn. So those are definitely helpful. This one a little less so, since if they manage to get some damage on you, this one doubles damage on you as well, whereas this one just doubles damage on them. Dragon Mantle, because making your dragons bigger is something that works well. Dragon Tempest, Crucible of Fire, Conspiracy. There's a couple of cards in this deck that specifically want your creatures to be dragons, and Conspiracy can make all of your creatures into dragons. It can also make Scion of Dragon, retrieve Ugin, or not Ugin, but Ulamog, and why not make Scion into Ulamog, because that's amazing. Okay, the other thing that this deck does fairly well, a little bit of graveyard shenanigans. I'm mostly a black player, so this is my very first 5-color deck. So I'm still kind of in the black mindset a little bit, and there's quite a bit of, I've several of these great cards that let me, you know, run some graveyard shenanigans, like Animate Dead. Alright, and then Explore, a little bit more mana, Explosive Vegetation, Brute Strength, because again, making bigger dragons is always good. A Fog, because you never know, always want to have at least 1 Fog in a deck if you can get it in there. Tooth and Nail, Narset, I run Narset in this deck, the Planeswalker, because Tooth and Nail, you know, you get a 9 cost Tooth and Nail on the field. If you double that with Narset, then I don't care who you're playing against, it's pretty much going to be game over for them. Exhume, a little bit more on the graveyard shenanigans. Of course, this one allows the other players to retrieve creature as well, but usually my creatures are bigger, so that's okay. And Nico Bolas, Planeswalker. There are Planeswalkers in this deck. I am considering removing a few of them to replace them with other dragons, but you know, they've served me well so far, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them yet. But Nico Bolas in a dragon deck, he just kind of needs to be there. There's Narset, and you know, her -2 when you cast your next instant or sorcery, Tooth and Nail, it gains rebound. So you know how devastating is that. Xenagos the Revealer, see, that's one of the names I probably butchered. Mana, Planeswalker. Sorin, this is one of the Planeswalkers that I'm actually considering removing. He is kind of cool, you know, for some card draw, and you know, if you get him out, and he's kind of the target that's not me. I would rather my opponents target him than me, and that's, you know, that's always good. Sarkhan the Dragon Speaker, and Sarkhan Unbroken. And then there's my Scion of the Dragon, Nico Bolas, the first, I've got these in order, legendary to non-legendary in my creatures. So Nico Bolas, of course, belongs in this deck. Dragon Lord Atarka, maybe. Elder Dragon, he's flying in trample. When Dragon Lord Atarka enters the battlefield, it deals 5 damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers your opponents control. Now, you know, if your opponent's running tokens, he can pretty much take them out. And then World Renderer. I used to use him as a commander for another deck because why not? Flying trample, and he gives himself and any other dragon that you happen to be swinging with trample. and that's just flying, trample. Well, what are you going to do against that? You're going to die. That's what you're going to do. Dragon Lord Silmagar, and then Silmagar the Drifting Death. Dragon Lord Jamoka, and then Jamoka the Eternal. Dragon Lord Kolaghan, and then Kolaghan the Storm's Fury. If you can't tell, I actually started playing Magic right around the time Dragons and Khans came out. So I've not been playing for a massively long amount of time, but I do play a lot, and it's one of my favorite things in the world to do. So Dragon Lord Ojutai, that's why I have a lot of cards from Khans and Dragons Tarkir. Ojutai, Soul of Winter. Ryusi, the Falling Star. Flying, when the Falling Star dies, it deals 5 damage to each creature without flying. So that's always helpful. He doesn't die very often because he is a 5/5 flying, and most of the time when he's playing out of my deck he has trample. This is a flash legendary human warrior, Sirach Dragonclaw. Now I do have a few non-dragon creatures in here because they support dragons very well. This one, Sirach Dragonclaw, can't be countered, and he has creature spells you control can't be countered. Other creatures you control have trample. So he gives your other creatures trample, and he makes it so your other creatures can't be countered. And in my play group, we have a couple of players who play a lot of counter spells. So it's very nice to be able to not be countered. Another reason she is in here, Kali of the Vast. She's a legendary human cleric. She has flying, and whenever Kali of the Vast attacks an opponent, you may put an angel, demon, or dragon card, dragon creature card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking that opponent. So, I mean, why not? That's amazing. And then, of course, Ulamog. The only reason he is in here is so that Scion can become him. And when Scion is a 10/10, plus, Crucible's out, and he's got +3, so now he's a 13/13. Takara is out, so he has, double strike and trample, so he's swinging for 26, and he has trample and flying, and just how devastating is that? Thunder Dragon. Now we're getting into my non-legendary creatures. When Thunder Dragon enters the battlefield, it deals 3 damage to each creature without flying. I try to keep all of the cards in this deck to where they would kind of interact with each other very well. Let's see, Hypersonic Dragon. Shivan Dragon. I've heard a lot of people say that Shivan Dragon is awful. And he is a bit expensive, 6 for 5/5, but he does have Pay Mountain, and Shivan Dragon gets +1/+0, so, he can make himself bigger. And if you've got Chromatic Lantern on the field and a ton of mana, you get him out, you spend 2 mana to make Scion turn into him, and then you spend the rest of the, if it's late game, you've got 8 or 10 mana on the field, and then you just annihilate. Pennywise, or no, Pristine Skywise. Hellkite Charger. Let's see. Oh, he has haste. That's good. And this one throws some mana at me every time he attacks. He doesn't have to actually do damage, but when he attacks, I get an extra 6 mana, which for your second main phase is something that would be very useful for you, since a lot of dragons cost exactly 6 mana. Swift Warkite. Hellkite Tyrant. He's the one that lets you gain control of target players, or when he deals combat damage to a player, gain control of all artifacts that player controls. Okay, I'll take your Soul Ring and your Chromatic Lantern, or your whatever artifacts you have. I'll definitely appreciate those. Necromaster Dragon. Sunscorch Regent. Icefall Regent. Utvera Hellkite. Probably another name that I butchered there, but whenever a dragon, any dragon that you control attacks, put a 6/6 red dragon token with flying onto the battlefield. Who doesn't want extra dragons whenever your dragons attack? And then if you say I'm swinging with 3 dragons, I get 3 more dragons. That's a game changer right there when that comes out. This one is unlike Shivan Dragon, who gives himself +1/+0. This one gives each creature +1/+0. So Moonveil Dragon just got to be in there. All right, and then non-dragons. We've got only a few creatures left. Dragon Speaker Shaman is a barbarian who has dragon spells you play cost 2 less to cast. Okay, we'll go with that. Seedborn Muse. Untap all permanents you control during each other player's untap step. Now, that's mostly just fun because, as you notice, this deck doesn't have very many instant spells. However, it does have the one guy that gives everybody flash. No, maybe he only has flash. I think there's a card. I think I own a card that gives everybody flash, but I haven't put it in this deck yet. I should. But until I do, this really doesn't serve much of a purpose in this deck, except that it's a great idea. But I don't really need to untap on your turn. It is nice for blocking, though. If I attack with my dragons, I suppose that's probably the reason that it's in here. If I attack with my dragons, and then I can have them to block again next turn, that actually makes a lot of sense. So she probably will stay. But like I said, instance. I think there's 2, maybe 3 instances in the deck. So not a huge. And still, like I said, I just put this deck together recently, and I've only played it a few times against an actual opponent, and so I'm still learning the deck. But it has been, I haven't lost with it yet, so it has been a good, pretty decent deck so far. And last but not least, Gaia's Herald, because creatures' spells can't be countered by spells or abilities. So I don't like having my spells countered because it's stupid. And it's annoying. And I want to play Magic, not play Magic. So Gaia's Herald helps me with that. A couple other cards in this deck do similar, not allowing my stuff to be countered. So, but that's my deck, Scion of the Ur Dragon. I call it Here There Be Dragons. That's the name of the deck. I enjoy it. It's fun. It's kind of fast. The mana is working pretty well so far, actually. So, but if anybody has any tips about the mana in this deck, aside from buy $50 cards that are mana, because I pulled all the non-basic lands, most of the non-basic lands I pulled. A couple of them I purchased because they were great, like the Cavern of Souls. But, if anybody has any suggestions about, anything, please let me know in the comments. I will continue to do videos about Magic the Gathering, and thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and have a good day. Thank you.